It's bad. Anime.
Hello, everybody. My name is John.
And my name's Rob.
And this is Bad Anime, the show where we decide,
Is this anime bad?
I can't believe we're doing this. I can't believe it. I genuinely can't believe it.
Oh, my God.
I can't believe you suggested it. It's insane. It's crazy.
Yes.
Wow.
I did. Yes, I did suggest today's little number because in the interest of fairness, I've been putting you through the ringer for the past year and a couple months.
Sure.
Yeah. Since we published. So, yeah, we probably published last February. So let's just say year and change for convenience sake. I've been pulling you into my world and pulling us into worlds that we're both not familiar with. But I figured it's about time that I kind of repay the favor, so to speak, and we dive into a world that you know a lot about that I have no fucking clue about because I never gravitated towards fucking any of it.
Say what you will about Robert Halley, the man repays his debts.
That's the thing.
Always repays his debts. He always comes back at some point.
I am a Lannister. Oh no, that explains way too much about myself. I'm
Oh no.
No, that is really scary now that I say that out loud, but I feel prettier. So, let's call it a mixed bag. Anywho, I figured, you know what? The shonen action thing is still the most predominantly popular form of anime in the world today. It is.
Yes.
There's always the one big shonen title. Now there's a couple of them.
Yeah.
I'm like, all right, we got to tackle some shonen stuff, but how? And I figured, okay, there's a couple of shonens that kind of break it up a little bit and actually do individual seasons. And I figured, well, when I was in Japan, I was trying to think, when I was in Japan, what was really popular? And that was in 2014. And today's title, My Hero Academia, or Boku no Hero Academia, which is the actual the Japanese title. A lot of changes, I know. It's hard to really comprehend those changes.
I couldn't even understand what you just said right now. The only reason I know that is because we covered Boku no Pico.
Oh, that reminds me of one really mean text I sent to you about this show. About a character we'll get to later. But
yes, you did.
Anywho, I'm like, okay, My Hero Academia just came out. I'm like, oh yeah, My Hero. I'm like, and then I learned it's still going on. I'm like, fuck me, that's still going on.
Yeah, I know. Almost 10 years later, it's still happening.
One of our friends, you know exactly who, showed me the first 5 episodes, and I want to say it had to be like 20. The earliest it could have been was like spring of 2016. That's the earliest.
Okay, I was gonna say probably around that time period. It sounds pretty accurate.
In between 2016 and 17. That's all I know for certain. It was in that time. I'm leaning more.
I didn't know it was still going. I thought it was over.
Oh yeah, it's still going on apparently. I'm like, what the fuck?
Wow, I had no idea. I thought they like ended it with a movie, or were gonna end with a movie or something. I don't know. Maybe I'm behind on it.
It's still going on.
I
remember
no idea.
Honestly, I remember all of our friends liking it, which led me to believe like, oh yeah, I'm gonna hate this because let me explain some stuff.
Yeah, no. I fully understand that exact point from you specifically. Yeah. Continue with your point.
But the thing is, because for many years, up until I was like 16 or 17, if you asked me, do you like anime? I would have said no, because the only thing I thought that existed, like many American teens at the time, the only anime that I thought that actually existed was the shonen action stuff. And I never liked any of it. I still can't stand Naruto. Yep. Like, One Piece makes my eyes roll, kind of. You know, I understand now that especially One Piece has so much more significance behind it than I realized. But I'm like, yeah, it could be good. I'm not watching fucking 800 episodes.
Yeah, exactly. Especially the format of an anime. Like, I don't think I could. I have no idea how I could ever watch all that. But I could read all of it, and it'll be a lot faster. But watching it just seems very.
Yeah, I could read it, but then I'm just like, I haven't picked up a manga in a very long time.
Neither.
And I don't know. I'm getting away a lot from the written word media in general. I'm way more into the auditory and visual stuff. So that never appealed to me either. But a lot of the shonen action shit, you know, say what you want. Like I say, like Naruto's a big one because I remember very vividly you guys putting on Naruto and me going like, okay, I kind of want to leave. And then at one point in particular, you guys were all playing the Naruto video game. I texted my mom and told her to call me and pretend that she needed me to come home and let's do dinner afterwards because I wanted to leave. But at the time I was still a younger teenager. I'm like, I felt so uncomfortable saying, "Oh, guys, I just don't want to be here anymore."
I just don't like this. Yeah.
And I kind of want to say, like, I just want to go out to dinner with my mom right now. So I texted her, tell her to call me. She's hysterical on the other line. I'm like, am I doing my job? I'm like, oh shit, okay, mom, I get it. I'll be home in a little bit. I'm like, hey guys, sorry, I gotta go do shit. I gotta help mom out at home. And then we just had dinner. Then I stayed home.
Great. It's great.
It was awesome. Yeah, no,
That's great.
I mean, can't explain it. Naruto always fucking annoyed me. I've only watched one arc of Dragon Ball. Never really gave Bleach a shot. If I'm going to talk about the quote unquote big three there, if I think One Piece is actually the other big, I don't know what the big three is. And then, but then like all this other stuff I've seen, and I remember very well getting into the first couple episodes of Yu Yu Hakusho.
Oh yeah.
And then it became like every other anime I've seen, so I stopped watching. I'm like, okay, now I'm bored. You lost the cool part.
Right.
You lost the undead detective angle, and now it's just a bunch of martial arts shit. I understand that show's really good, but it just never gravitated towards for me.
It kind of just blended. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get what you're saying.
But yeah, the whole genre just blended for me. And but I figured it was so unfair that I put you through so much and not repaid the service. So I figured, fuck it. 12 episodes. That's in our acceptable wheelhouse. We can actually watch it at a time and actually
it was even 13.
It was 13.
I was shocked.
It was 13.
I was like, wow.
It's funny. I use 12 and 13 kind of interchangeably. Because when a show's 13 episodes, I don't even realize. I just watch the last one, and
exactly, and you're just like, oh, like a bonus, I guess.
It's the same thing in my head.
Yeah, no, I feel that.
It clicks the same box. So yeah, 13 episodes for season 1 of My Hero. I'm like, okay, we got to do it. And like I said, I watched the first 5 already, so that was even easier.
So you had a good jumping point off.
Yeah, so I figured, fuck it, let's actually talk about some actual shonen action anime on this show. So that was a 7-minute introduction. Here we are.
No, I like the 7-minute introduction because I think there needs to be some context given if we're going to dive into a show this popular and this large.
Yes.
Especially to give, I guess, any listeners an account of where we both stand kind of going into it.
Yes.
Because you historically not a big shonen guy, and I can understand that. Yeah. There's a lot of things about the shonen medium that I point to now.
Yes.
And I'm like, okay, I'm not sure about that, and I'm not sure if I like that. See, the thing is, for me in particular, I think that I used to love Naruto. Naruto, probably one of my favorite shows of all time, if I had to tell you.
Yeah.
The thing that keeps coming up for me, and that will come up throughout this entire episode, is that the reason I think I liked it so much was because it captured me at the age that I was at.
Okay.
You could not pay me to sit through part 1 of Naruto anymore. I would not watch that shit at all. Like I can watch clips from it. Like I love to like reminisce and stuff like that from like not Shippuden, like the early Naruto.
Yeah,
show me.
A lot of people our age love to point to the Rock Lee and Gaara fight.
Yes, great fight. Love that fight. I would watch that again. I have watched that again. Certain scenes, yes. Generally, you're not going to watch a full episode. No fucking way. You cannot, an episode, fine. You cannot pay me to watch the whole series over again.
Oh, God, no.
Never going to happen.
Yeah.
Not going to happen. And that's because it caught me at a specific time in my life where I really, really gravitated towards it, and I loved it for what it was. Nowadays, it feels like it's for children, which is because it is.
Yes, exactly. Shonen Jump literally means teenage boy jump. Teenage boy. It is meant for like kids probably from 11 to 15, 16.
And that's the exact age that I got into it.
Yes.
And that's the exact age, a little younger, that I got into Dragon Ball Z because it was cool. It was edgy. It was different from anything that I'd ever seen before. Yeah. Really, really cool. And I appreciate those shows, and I really, really love them for what they are and the legacy that they've left behind.
Yes.
And for all the dumb, needless facts that I know about both of them.
Yeah.
But now, you're making me sit down and watch the first, 10 episodes, 13 episodes of Naruto. Yeah, I probably wouldn't enjoy them that much, to be honest. And that's kind of what happened here. And that'll come up again throughout the episode, is that
I can immediately read.
Generally, it's just, I can get it. If you got into it in 2014 when you were like 15, yeah, you probably loved the shit out of this. But if you got into it, trying to get into it as a 28, 29-year-old, it's not that easy.
Exactly.
It's a bit difficult.
I can relate to that exact point. I can say for me, because the only Shonen Jump anime I probably ever watched was Yu-Gi-Oh! And I didn't even watch Yu-Gi-Oh entirely. I watched Duelist Kingdom as a kid, and probably Battle City. I don't even think I watched all of Battle City. I probably watched the beginning and end of Battle City.
Yeah.
And like I always say, there's with a lot of shonen anime, and Yu-Gi-Oh is a huge example of that, where there's too much fucking bullshit fluff in the middle.
And oh my god, shonen anime is the epitome of bullshit fluff in the middle. Like you introduced me to the world of anime that wasn't 50 episode seasons.
Yes.
Like, you introduced me to a world of anime that was 12 to 13 episodes. The second, even 26.
Yes.
The second I saw a 26 episode anime, I was like, that's it? Yeah. Really? Wow. Like, Gurren Lagann.
I was going to say, that was
like
your first one where you kind of found out found that on your own. And then
I did.
So basically, in the analogy you're building, I'll give you a hand here. You opened the door, and I was on the other side. I threw it open with my weenie hanging out saying, "Welcome to the new world."
Exactly.
And you just see a bunch of Kamen Rider and Hikaru figures behind me, and you're like, I'm a little scared, and I'm going to walk in slowly.
And I see that weenie every time I throw on a 12-epper of Crunchyroll. You know what I mean? So there you go. It helped a lot. And I think getting to that made me realize, okay, you don't need, and there's a reason why there are fucking websites dedicated to, here's how you watch Naruto without all the goddamn filler. That's why.
It's amazing.
There's there's a website, a great website for One Piece that's here's all the episodes that you should watch.
Yes.
It eliminates hours of content that you don't need.
That's fucking absurd to me that people go oh yeah, you don't have to watch all these seasons. I'm like, excuse me?
Yeah, I know.
Oh
and God. That kind of brings us, and now that I think we both understand where we are, we can talk about My Hero, because My Hero, the nice thing about recording this episode is because I feel usually on the podcast we do a intro to it, let's talk about what happens in it. Let's talk about, I feel this anime is so popular, has been out for so long, and I feel everybody under the sun knows about it that's been going to be clicking on this episode. I feel we really don't have to even talk about what exactly happens episode to episode to episode.
So we can skip some of the linear details, is what you're saying.
I think we could skip some of the linear details and
fair.
really just get into opinions about this thing, because and we can maybe take it bit by bit, as in section by section throughout the entire season. But I don't think we're gonna be looking for exact okay, in episode 1 this happened, episode 2 this happened. I think we could just be a little more liberal with how we approach this.
Yeah, we could be more free flowing, sure. Because the first glob of episodes stood out to me. If I guess if you take that 3 episode rule mentality,
sure.
All I remember of the first 3 episodes was Deku is a whiny baby, and he loves superheroes. He meets All Might, who gives him his power. I remember a few of our friends being really big on All Might. Mm-hmm. His shtick, it was kind of cool at first, kind of funny, how over the top it was. And I know it was the same guy who voiced Piccolo and Vegeta, so I understand there's a lot of nostalgia there for a certain group.
Yeah, sure.
Again, the only arc of Dragon Ball I remember really watching was the Majin Buu arc.
Okay, interesting.
So, I think if I had to take any guess, I was waiting for something on Nickelodeon. It wasn't on yet, so I just went back to Cartoon Network, and so I got a little pulled by that because of how weird and goofy the villain was. But at the same time, he's like, "Oh, okay, I'll kill them all." It's who is this?
What? Yeah, Majin Buu was a fun time.
It was a fun arc, and so that's so like I said, I have very limited knowledge of Dragon Ball in general, just because I didn't fall into it like everyone else did. But I liked what I saw. But unfortunately, I don't have that same nostalgic pull by hearing. I'm trying to remember the guy's name. Was it Chris? I was about to say Chris Labatt, but
Chris Sabat.
Sabat, yeah. I was gonna for a minute.
Labatt, Christopher Labatt, Blue Light.
Exactly. You know exactly where I was going with that. I fucking love Batty Blue. Which I wish I was drinking now, but I have White Claw in my hand because when you host parties, people bring White Claw and leave White Claw.
They do. Because we're friends with also responsible adults.
But we're friends with the good people who actually just bring the black cherry. Because if you bring the variety pack, fuck you. Because,
no, fuck the variety pack.
Because once you get down to the fucking, the raspberry and the grapefruit? Fuck you.
So I like the grapefruit. The one that I can't stand is the mango.
Oh, I hate them. I've always hated the mango.
Not the mango. Not a mango guy. Not a mango. I like a mango generally, but not a mango White Claw guy.
I don't like mango flavored stuff.
I like mangoes. I like mangoes, but I don't like mango flavored things.
I'm not a big mango flavored stuff guy at all. So whenever I remember buying White Claws a lot when they first came out. And I remember getting home from work, being all excited, and then I open my fridge and only see the mangoes left. And then I'd be like, so I just went to bed. Wouldn't even cook myself dinner. Just go right to bed.
Didn't even drink beer or anything. Just went to bed.
Just went to bed, sad, cold, alone.
Is that how you felt after completing this?
That's a very good question, because I need to talk my feelings out on this one.
Yeah, I think we both need to talk our feelings a bit about this one. And I think you were on a line of thought about All Might, which I'll give you my hand for.
Because I get it. The thing with All Might, like, he was funny at first, and the duality thing. He got injured, and then he becomes a shell of himself. He feels the burden and responsibility of holding out the public facade. He's supposed to be like the comedic hero with the very serious undertones. And I get it, but then they just keep doing the same thing over and over again with no variation. You get the same tone throughout, and by the end, I was just so bored.
I like the introduction that we get to All Might. I like the idea of the character. I think the character is very fun because it's this obviously larger than life superhero exact type hero who is, the pinnacle of justice, the symbol of, goodwill and peace. And I mean, I really, really enjoy the fact that, like, he is actually just this skinny, flaccid dude that just needs to puff out his chest for a few hours a day because of an injury in order to be this beacon of peace that everybody thinks he is. Yeah. So I think that was nice. I really did like that, actually. I found the All Might character at sometimes compelling because of just how dimensional he was and just had different lines of thought. But you're kind of right. I think the way that he changes over time isn't because his character changes over time. It's because all the other characters around him start being a thing. Like his appreciation and his like of Deku eventually, I think, becomes a big plot point because he doesn't want to play favorites and he's like trying to help everybody at the school eventually. But of course, like, he has a soft spot for Deku because he's giving him the one for all power. So I found that kind of interesting, and like, is he going to play favorites? Like, is he going to, start to teach Bakugo and stuff like that? So there are times where I was like, the All Might character was interesting, and I was thinking about what he would exactly do. But I do get your point in that for the grand majority of the time, he is that quintessential template of All Might the whole time.
And it just got so repetitive after a while. That was my only problem. And I felt like they had more chances to kind of develop him, and they never really did. Again, this could be the shonen thing where it's like they know, because they probably knew they had this shit for like 6 seasons or like 4,
for sure,
easily 3 seasons when they probably signed the deal. So they probably, because you could tell the first season of this really felt like the first mini arc or a couple of mini arcs. It didn't present itself as a kind of complete story. Not saying it should have, but I kind of wish more happened. When you're going to have 13 contained episodes like this. The last little bit we'll get to, because the last little bit had a cool arc in it, which I kind of enjoyed, because I love that. It's a cliche action movie setup they did, but I like that cliche.
Yeah, it was cool. I think the thing that I appreciated, I think, about My Hero, in relation to maybe like a Naruto or One Piece or any other shonen, is thankfully, maybe Jujutsu Kaisen is a proponent of this as well, but thankfully, they kind of get to the point a lot faster. Okay. And that's kind of what I appreciated about this. You may have thought that it was kind of not a lot happened, but I think for me, comparatively to all the other shonens that I have seen, a lot fucking happened. Really? Comparatively. And which is a very, very low bar. Yeah, sure. But a lot did happen comparatively to a lot of other shonens. Okay, that makes sense. The first 13 episodes of Naruto, man, like it takes its goddamn time with some things. But the first 13 episodes of this, I think, actually gave us, as you said, a decent mini arc. He's got to get into the school. It was a very good, like, expositionary 13 episodes that I thought kind of introduced a lot of characters and kind of brought us to the forefront of what was going to happen. And I've heard from friends of mine that like this show that the first season's good, second season's incredible, and it just gets better from there. And some people I've heard it gets worse. But either way, I think the second season is widely considered, it seems to be the biggest like epitome of this. So it kind of felt more of like a rising action to get to something actually gripping and compelling.
Yeah, see, that's the thing. That's kind of what annoyed me because I'm just it felt like, exactly, it felt like the first couple pages of a book. It felt like a holding pattern to me, and I understand that like this obviously comes with the shonen territory.
Sure, yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that comes in the shonen territory that fucking pissed me off. Another one being how you could skip the first 2 minutes of every episode because they just recap the previous episode.
Yes, I was actually really down with that because I just skipped the first 4 minutes every single episode, and I was like, "Great! Now I only got to watch Now I got to watch 18 minutes instead of 20."
Well, but here's the fucking problem with that: if the show is like 50 episodes long, sure, this was supposed to be 13.
Oh my god!
Why are we recapping this shit?
Thank God we're never watching One Piece on this show because One Piece is the fucking worst with that.
I've heard.
You get 7 different intros, you get 7 different recaps, and then you get 4 minutes of actual new content, and then they do it again to outro. It's the worst. It is absolutely horrific, and that's what you get when you outpace the manga so badly.
Oh yeah,
you need to fill time. But yeah, it was. This whole first season was kind of a long exposition. I'm not going to lie, and I will say there were times where I was like, that wasn't, I kind of like that. Like, there were times that I was like, I like that character, or I like that choice.
Well, what characters did you relate to in this? I'm curious.
No, I relate to zero.
Well, not relate to, but like, sorry. Who did you get any emotional impact from?
The only emotional impact that I think I got from this entire one, kind of like what we were saying before with All Might, a little bit of that, kind of feeling for the guy because he is like this epitome of justice, and he does have that kind of problem that he can't really go as much as he used to, and he's slowing down and stuff like that. So I think that was probably the biggest one, if I could pull out any.
Right.
That, and I thought the frog girl was fucking hilarious.
Okay, fair.
Those are my two. I think the people that they wanted you to get behind, though, like Deku and Bakugo, are, if you will, our Naruto Sasuke pairing.
The only way I'd ever get behind Bakugo if I was about to put a knife in his fucking back, I hated him. I hated that character.
Show some spine, Bakugo.
Every time that fucking moron was on screen, screaming away, I wanted to turn the show off. I was so annoyed, and I sent you a very mean text where I said, I wish he was the kid getting molested in Boku no Pico. That was really mean, and I shouldn't say that shit, but fuck it. I'm going to be honest with you and our audience. I hated this character. He was, and I get the point. He was supposed to be annoying. Maybe he did it too well. Sure. I don't know. It's just, I couldn't relate to this guy or feel to this guy. And maybe just... Who knows? Maybe I saw... Because the thing is, I feel like, especially in shonen shows, you get too much of that fucking pairing. Mm-hmm. You get the Naruto Sasuke, you get the Goku Vegeta, the Yugi Kaiba. Yep. The list goes fucking on and on. I'm tired of the fucking trope of, like, our plucky-go-lucky hero and our darker anti-hero, Sonic and Shadow. It's just... Yeah,
it's the same.
That's the problem. And again, this is coming from bias, because when the genre isn't my cup of tea, and you keep giving me... worse iterations of tea, I'm gonna be mad because I barely like tea to begin with.
See, but that's the thing. We talked about it during Isekai month. It's a formula that has been working.
That's the thing.
And working very well for them for a long time.
So that's the funny part here.
People start to expect that.
Yes.
Which is unfortunate because then you don't get variety in these. And they just pop up and you can very easily trace them back to each other in terms of, what they took from this show, what they took from that show.
You're reminding me of something great here I want to touch upon. Because not only did they combine all the tropes about shonen shows that I'm lukewarm on at fucking best, they added a bunch of American superhero influences. And as an American who's almost 30 years old in the year 2023, we need to stop with all the fucking superhero media. It affected my opinion of this show because now, and someone in the Western world, I'm trying to get away from superhero shit. It's the only thing that's ever playing in theaters is more superheroes. And there's almost every fucking film now, you need to see at least six to seven other films in order to understand it. You can't watch a Marvel movie now because they're all fucking interconnected. Even the fucking DC ones. Because they have so many different continuities because they keep rebooting everything. And somehow there's a deluded crowd of fucking morons who's still going to pay for tickets to a DC movie. It's just so frustrating.
Yeah.
And I'm so burnt out on superhero shit. And then the reason why I love Japanese superheroes so much, because they always had a very different mentality to Western superheroes. In presentation, in character traits they liked. Not wildly different, but it was just a different cultural lens to take the superhero landscape from, which I always enjoyed because it felt like enough of a departure where because I inherently like superheroes, and that's why I started watching a lot of the Japanese superhero side stuff when I was probably 16, 17 when the Marvel wave first began, because after a while I just couldn't connect with it anymore. It was too much to keep up with, so I related to them a lot. But now seeing a Japanese production take these American superhero ideologies and traits and and then combining it with all these fucking anime tropes and then outside the shonen tropes, we get the fucking academy tropes thrown in here.
Yep.
So we include all the light novel crazes from the early 2000s, and I'm like, guys, this is just every trope thrown on top of each other, and I was burnt out before the show was done. I feel like I've seen everything present before, and the one thing that could have saved the show for me were some compelling characters. And in my mind, I was compelled by no one, and I'll use that to start the next point of conversation, because now I'm just screaming at you basically.
Scream at me all you want,
Daddy. This fucking Deku kid just wouldn't stop crying.
Yeah, that was it. Really,
it grinded my gears.
It rubbed me the wrong way too. That was very annoying. Not even me being I feel like they make him cry because they want you to feel for him in his position that he would be in at the time. But it was too much. It happened way too much. Too much whining, too much complaining, not enough figuring out how you're going to get out of this mess, The
problem was he did that, but it was by the time he started doing it, it was a little too late in the series, which could have been a cool natural progression. But the thing is, he just never stopped whining and crying. It felt like they're trying to truncate the hero's journey, but they kind of lost what they're doing along the way, and now he was still a whiny little pansy by the end of the show. I'm like, guys, but they also implied he's kind of courageous because he saved Bakugo towards the end of the show.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
And where they lied and saying it was All Might, and now Bakugo's not going to admit that. That was the one cool scene I saw, where there's a big blast coming for Bakugo. They were trying, and it looked like All Might saved him, but it was really Deku who did it, and they only revealed it with, it was one of those things where it was, other shows do this and it pisses me off, but here I like the way they did it because they gave it just enough time, where it was Bakugo replaying the image in his head, and it was Deku who, almost sacrificed himself to save him. I'm like, okay, we have some cool visual storytelling instead of audio. I like that. That was a cool moment. The show did have some good moments, and generally speaking, it was well constructed in terms of this happens, but this happens, therefore this happens, then this happens, therefore this also happens. Narratively, I don't have any problem with the show. It told a story. It's just the characters and personalities involved, and it was all of the in-betweens. That all the seasoning and the sauce was not on the sandwich for me.
Yes. Okay. I understand that point. I'd like to expand on something that you said before too about the superhero genre.
Right.
I've never been one to enjoy a superhero movie, really. I don't really like them. The only superhero-esque movies that I've ever enjoyed have all been from the Batman franchise.
Yeah.
That's been it, because it's more of a detective movie than anything.
Yeah, it's a dark detective movie.
I really like about it.
But it just funny enough, the guy's just dressed as a bat.
Right. I just felt like they just have more, I don't know, they have more layers to them. And this My Hero Academia, I think, perfectly coincides with a Marvel movie. Very, very similar. Very, very similar in characters and structure, in conflict, all these things that I think make a Marvel movie a Marvel movie. And I think it has insane mass appeal. I feel like kind of what you said before about the Japanese taking this concept and merging it with like the Academy part, the superhero part, all of like the most popular versions of each country's media kind of combined into one thing. Honestly, it's fucking genius. It's fucking genius that they did that and decided to make an anime or a manga or whatever based off of superheroes in kind of a more Japanese context.
Right.
I think it's absolutely genius. Like, if you were to be given in Japan, if you were like an anime creator or a manga writer or mangaka, and you were and somebody said, I want you to make the manga/anime series that is going to make us the most money possible, this is the one. Absolutely the one.
Right.
The amount of economic insanity that has occurred because of this anime is ridiculous.
Right.
People love this fucking anime. I can understand why, because it is that shonen trope continued again for a new generation.
Right.
And these kinds of shows will continue till the end of time.
Yeah.
Because every 10 years, there will be another 3 very, very popular, very, very big, very, very formulaic Shonen Jump shows that will be fed to a young audience who will love them and adore them, and then adore the rest of Shonen's output for the rest of their entire lives. It has all of that. It has the main character who is plucky, unassuming, not very good at what they do, and it has him evolve into an absolute, I'm sure by the end of the show, an absolute killing machine.
He inhibits
badass.
one of the core tenets of like Japanese work culture, where the emphasis is entirely on hard work.
Yep. He's a Rock Lee.
Yeah, I mean,
from Naruto. Exactly a Rock Lee Naruto combo.
The first time this was pitched to me years ago, someone said like, "Oh yeah, it's like Naruto, but Rock Lee's the protagonist." And I looked at them and said, "I don't like Naruto." And then they walked away, and I don't think I ever talked to them again.
I think this show would have been, I don't know how they would do it, but I think this show would be even a lot more compelling if Deku never got a quirk.
Yeah.
If he just never got it. And I thought that's where it was going for a little while until All Might was like, well, I got to pass on the most OP quirk in the entire world to you. And of course, it's going to be, also, they bookend that with, it's going to take a lot of hard work for him to actually master it, but he's going to do it eventually.
Yeah,
and
and even towards the end of the series, you got some of that where it was just like he was getting more control of it, because I thought that could have been way more compelling, where he has, because at first, like, his entire body would be shattered when he tried to use this thing, because he just is not powerful enough yet.
Right.
There's so many...
Which I liked, because they was like, we're not going to, make you an OP badass right now. But in my mind, you just kind of, to use another sandwich analogy, you just kind of gave me a sandwich with nothing in between the bread. Because, it's like, all right, like, this is going to happen. This show is extremely predictable. Of course it is.
Yeah.
It has to be. It's a shonen show.
Yes.
They are all very predictable in that way.
Yes.
He will get strong. He will become the best hero in the world because he's willed it from the very beginning and he's worked hard to do it.
Right.
I just would have preferred if he didn't have a quirk to do it. And I think that would have been vastly more compelling in that he actually had to develop like muscles. He had to develop like heart. All of this stuff that all of these heroes that have these quirks and powers and take them for granted do not have. And he has the will to be a hero, which is unlike anybody in the show already.
It would basically be like a reverse One Punch Man.
Yeah, it would be.
Yeah.
It would be, which I think is great. Again, One Punch Man, another show that I again can't really get behind for similar reasons. But there were times where I was like, I like this show a little bit.
Yeah.
And there were times where I think it never did it cross my mind like, wow, I hate this. I completely dislike it. It's not for me. Can't get into it. I think my biggest thought is if I was 15 years old, 14 years old watching this, I would really like it.
Okay.
And I can understand that for myself.
Yeah.
But now, at the stage that I'm at in my life, watching it felt more like a chore than anything. But I can see that spark there, and I can see how younger people would really, really enjoy it. Personally, couldn't really get behind it, couldn't really love it, but I knew that I would be able to if I was in that exact mental state that I was at the time.
Right. Yeah. That makes so much sense based on what we talked about before. For me, I know if I didn't find Deku so annoying at the age of 13 or 14, because I would have hated this character. I would have turned off the screen immediately because all he did was fucking cry.
Yep.
You know, based on the story I got here alone, I wouldn't have gotten into this. Especially when I saw all the fervor it got online. I would have been like, okay. I would have watched the first couple episodes and thought, oh, okay, so it didn't. To your point exactly, it would have been so much more compelling if he kept having a disability to overcome or kept having a drawback to overcome. But then they kind of just nip it all in the bud by saying you're the chosen one. I'm like, fucking chosen one narratives suck most of the time.
Yeah,
they do.
Yeah.
And it was weird.
It's a cheap way out.
But it's weird because they're trying to balance that with a hard work narrative, so they're kind of conflicting messages here.
Yeah.
So like, it feels like they're saying anyone could be your hero as long as you're this, and that. I'm like, that's
right.
So it seems weirdly conditional in that way.
It is weird because it's also, I mean, the same kind of thing that happened with Rock Lee in Naruto, right? He doesn't have, ninjutsu, genjutsu. He can only do taijutsu. He can only use his fists and stuff, right? He becomes extremely irrelevant after that Gaara fight. After that, it's over for him. Like, he doesn't do any because he didn't have that given talent, right?
So he got
Naruto's got the right. Naruto's the nine-tailed fox. He got the nine-tailed fox. You can say it was hard work. You can say it was all that shit, but it was he has the nine-tailed fox power. He has that. He was born with it. Deku, I thought it was going to be hard work. I thought it was just going to be only hard work, but then he gets the quirk. And it would have been even a more interesting twist if All Might came out and was like, I also don't have a quirk. I did all of this because I believe in myself and I think I'm a hero. And he could even wear fucking jetpacks on his back under his cape or something. It
sounds like you would have liked them both more if they were just Batman.
I think so. Maybe I'm just a Batman guy. But I don't know. I thought that would have been a great direction, but instead they're like, yeah, exactly what you said.
Yeah.
Anybody can be a hero, but you need to have a quirk.
Yeah.
and I thought we were going to defeat that and conquer that, but we didn't.
Nope. Because at the end of the day, I'll say this before I make my final, kind of wrap up my feelings on this show.
Sure.
What could be going on right now is what I call the Harry Potter effect. Because if you watch the first Harry Potter movie right now, it is very much meant for children, obviously.
Yes.
But the difference with that is each movie gets progressively darker because it's growing with their audience.
Yeah,
so by the end of it,
the audience.
Deathly Hallows Part 2 is a very dark movie. It is a dark fucking film. And I really loved it because I stuck with it throughout my entire childhood. I got to watch these characters grow as I grew. Who knows what's going on right now? Maybe My Hero is doing the same thing. Maybe it actually is getting more mature every season. A big example for a lot of people is Star Wars: The Clone Wars, where it's like, okay, it was very much a kid show at first, but then they realized the adult fan base and they leaned more in. And plus, it aged with their audience, they aged with their core audience. So they tried basically, when you have an adult audience and a kid audience at the same time, what Clone Wars did was slowly make it more adult to keep the adults entertained, but also mature with the kid audience. So by the end, everyone's kind of on a level playing field.
Yep. I mean, exactly, going back to Naruto, exactly what happened.
Yeah.
First part of it for kids. Second part of it, more adults because those kids grew up. Right.
Exactly. So it's one of the things where it's really hard to recommend someone where it's like, hey, this very much time and place piece of media, go back to this place and time. That's really hard to do because sitting through the first two, I would say, at least two or maybe two Harry Potter movies to get to the rest of them, it's a lot to ask. Because, you get very fluffy, fun children's entertainment before you get to any of then you have to get through, very bad teen drama before you get to the very adult conclusion. So that's really hard to do for any media, you know?
Yeah.
It's not like Thrones where it has the same tone throughout. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that has an incline. And, you know, a lot of people, especially when they watch My Hero or any show, and if they're younger when they start, and then here they are now, you can't recapture that. I think that's the thing a lot of people forget. You can't recapture the experience. I can't suddenly go back in time and be 15 when I discovered this show. That's impossible. No matter how much drugs or alcohol you pump into someone's system, it's not going to work. And by the way, don't do that for a show. If you need to get high or drunk to enjoy a show, I think you need to put down the show. Mm-hmm. So, I think people need to be more aware of that, more cognizant of that fact when recommending any piece of media. Who knows? Maybe some people's lives didn't really change that fundamentally from, like, you know, their later teen years to where they are now. Especially if you're talking to someone a little younger, who was like in their early 20s, for example. And they can still relate to that part. They can relate to that part of their life more so than we could, for example. So there's a lot of like weird social dynamics at play when not just with My Hero, but for any of the shows or movies I previously mentioned. Was I annoyed at this show? Absolutely. I just found a lot of the characters really fucking annoying. Like I said, Bakugo, I wanted to kill him. Deku didn't do much for me. Frog Girl, I thought, okay, well, comic relief, whatever, you know.
Yeah, sure.
The only thing I found funny was when the dub actor said "ribbit." I found that genuinely funny.
That was really funny.
Genuinely funny. Ribbit, and like because she had such great comedic timing. So if I had to give anyone a shout out, it would have been her, whatever her main name.
It was really funny.
Yeah. But like, being almost 30, going back and watching this now, it's tough. And but here's the thing. Would I ever call it bad? For me personally, I can't really call it bad because at the end of the day, when you watch it, everything you see makes sense and it looks pretty good. You know, it's very much of its time in the best way. You can tell in 2013 they had the budget for this thing and it looks good. It looks a lot better than other anime on the scene at the time. So it looks good. Everything they told more or less made sense. There was never a point where I was scratching my head. I mean, Bakugo being mad all the time at first didn't make any sense, but then they kind of addressed that fact by like characters making fun of him, like, stop being mad.
Yeah.
So everything they threw at me made sense, but this wasn't my thing at the target age, so it's not really going to be my thing now. It's what it is. I would never go back and really watch any more My Hero in my lifetime. Unless someone wanted to donate to charity and then good guilt trip me into it, then I would.
I think
message us at badanime@gmail.com.
Yeah, if you want, send us whatever amount of money and we could watch the second season.
Oh no, don't even send me the money. I want to be sent to charity and to prove to me that you did it.
Yeah, yes.
I don't want the money.
Better.
I want the money to go to a good cause.
Yes.
Or like a 9-to-1 split, meaning like 90% of the money give it to charity, 10% to me, whatever.
Yes. Great.
Or 99 to 1. Actually, fucking no, give it all to charity. I don't need the fucking money.
Fuck yeah, just give it to charity. Just give it.
Then I would watch season 2. But other than that, would never pick up My Hero again. Am I glad I watched it? I honestly don't know because it's every fucking shonen thing ever. The last arc wasn't too bad with them trapped in the dome with the villain showing up, but that's the Die Hard thing. So I like that. I like heroes being trapped by villains and having to find a clever way out. So that tickled me a little bit. So I like that the last couple episodes. But I'm just not in the headspace to relate to this. And for shonen stuff, I never really was. I tried to turn on the child part of my brain. It didn't work. Maybe just because I wasn't there originally as a kid, and maybe because also watching the show as an adult, the first season, it's a little weird. But I would never call it bad. For me, it was just whatever.
Yeah. To give my final thoughts, I'm mostly in agreement with what you said. I think that the part that hit me most was that I don't doubt that now 6 seasons into this show, it might actually be very good right now and really, really appeal to the age that I am currently. But do I want to put it in the time to get there? I don't think so. If I'm going to have to kind of watch the same thing that I've been watching.
Right.
I have done this with others. Like I did that. I watched pretty much most of Black Clover as kind of like a random safety anime to have on. But for this, I just don't. I don't think I felt enough to continue with it, and I don't think I felt that spark enough to continue with it. But again, I don't doubt that it's gotten really good, perhaps, and maybe it's like gotten to a point where it's actually like incredible and really, really fulfills
it could be
anything like an adult anime fan would want or look for in an anime.
Yeah,
I don't doubt it. I'm gonna say it's not bad.
Okay,
it's not bad. I saw flickers in it. I was decently happy with it. It wasn't like that big of a deal. Like watching it was fine. But yeah, I don't think I'll ever even continue with it. I am happy that I watched it.
Okay.
Personally, just to get an idea of like what the fuss is about, you know? Mm-hmm. And if it was actually something different off the beaten path of any shonen before, or if it was actually just the same thing with same thing with different skins, you know? And I think it was pretty much the same thing with different skins, and I'm happy I know that, honestly.
Yeah,
and,
I mean, even with, like I said, like I have such a limited knowledge of Naruto, but I was like plugging characters in other characters. I'm like, oh wait, this is just this show's version of that guy.
And even you were, which is insane. So I think that's all we got to say. I mean, there you have it. That's My Hero Academia. We actually did watch the whole first season, which I'm still surprised about. I don't know if we'll ever continue, but if that charity thing happens, we will continue, actually.
Exactly.
Yeah, there you go. Need it for a cause. My Hero Academia for a cause.
For a cause.
It's bad. Wow, oh my god, what a rousing podcast of anime conversation. Am I right, my compares? Am I right, my weebdom? Anywho, you can send us a message if you want. Did you like this podcast? Did you hate this podcast? Do you want to kill me? Do you want to drench me in Calaxosaur blood and watch me drink it? That's fine. Just send us an email at badanimepod@gmail.com or DM us on our Instagram at badanimepod, all one word. You can also find us on YouTube as Bad Anime, and you could leave a comment on whatever video you want to leave a comment on. We'll read them all anyways. We don't care. I love you. Kiss, kiss.
Simple Equations Podcast Network.